Hello again, you're right. So yeah, I've been writing this poem all day, so be kind, because it's very fresh. I've said 5 minutes, but I've not read it out loud before, so I'll try my best. Beyond, beyond, beyond. How many of us feel that pre-conference anxiety? Queuing up for your lanyard, wondering, how much of this is going to be beyond me? Go over my head, in one ear and then out the next. Well, let me tell you, even when you're a speaker, that doesn't leave you. I'm ushered backstage by a friendly woman called Josie, and I can feel the nervous energy all around me. Panellists are clutching their scripts and testing their mics and looking for the clicker and making sure that they've pronounced this person's names right. Nihal leaps onto the stage to kick us off, and typically the first response from the crowd is not good enough. But we're being hosted by a pro, so it's not long before we feel warm. And speaking of temperature, Rachel, Laia, Corey and I are comparing dry cold in Montreal to wet cold in the UK. And Rachel tells us that you just got to know how to dress. And then you're all set. You can go to an event that they have in Canada, which is called the Igloo Fest. But then Laia's stolen from us. She's the first speaker. And it really chimes with me. She talks about the work that she does over 45 cities. By 2060, 70% of us will be in urban spaces with jobs that don't even exist yet. And that reminds me of when I was little and people used to ask me, what do you want to be? And I'd say, I don't think I know what it is. Like Nihal said, his favourite album is yet to be heard. Laia's work is all about fostering creative skills that feed the ecology. She describes culture as a golden thread. And what's magical about her talk is this great balance of hope and pragmatism. She warns of the loop of gentrification and how to cope with over-tourism. She wins this mathematician's heart by ending with a quote from Einstein. Logic can get you from A to B, but the imagination can take you everywhere. Next are Rachel and Hilary, and I love that this panel is so female heavy, as they unpack the innovation of Montreal City and how closely it's linked to its bilinguality. Oh, it's the end of the day, isn't it? And I share the same thought as Nihal by adding it to my travel list. I mean, to be honest, she had me at Igloo Fest. And in no time at all, it's time for Corey and I to grace the stage, sharing our stories about how we've been shaped by this space. And sure, Corey, aka Superlative, smashes it out of the park with his calm demeanour. And then I rock up and burn through all my slides, trying to dodge the timer alarm, wedge my story into an egg timer, hoping it makes sense. And I managed to get a nod to Arthur Lewis in there, but I had to sacrifice the Pan-African Congress. Some other references, but whatever, I did my best, and I appreciate that people at the coffee break come and tell me it resonated with them. But let me reverse, I'm getting ahead of myself. I step off stage and I get a handshake from the Greater Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham. I appreciate how much he talks about young people and their need for our attention and investment, a topic that is suitably prevalent. Because on my stroll this morning to Salford, I was listening to a podcast called Making Manchester Fairer, and I was reminded by a statistic that in Greater Manchester, 44% of our children are living in poverty. So you stroll up to this beautiful scene at MediaCity and you think, how could that be? Is that our reality? And that's why we've come today, right? To talk about things that sound beyond belief. To advocate for those that feel like they're beyond reach, to go beyond our doubts, to go beyond reason, to go beyond hope. Like Christine said, the real work isn't pretty. Like getting a cushy job and an apartment that sits over the Thames, it's negotiating with a community of sex workers, rats and bats, and taking over a depot. It's creating a Chinese opera called Monkey as your opening show, being asked who will come and saying, I don't know. But guess who was there? Me. I was in a community choir and we got to be a curtain raiser, and then we got to see the show, and you can see why I've never wanted to leave this city. Naturally, the conversation turns to digital space and the threat of technology, and ironically, I'm surrounded by 5 people on the phones trying to connect. Attention moves towards a deficit and people are getting restless, but Nihal requests that we hang in tight because the final speakers come all the way from Bangalore. Janvi delivers an insightful talk that leads us nicely into our first break. And I take the opportunity to explore the Compass Room, the Beyond Expo. I'm suitably met by a man in a lab coat, branded Immersive Futures Lab, but my inner troglodyte makes me go over to this floridly orange bench that's made of concertinaed card, and I wonder about the tessellation and the weight distribution, and then I'm like, no, give your head a shake, Keisha, you're here to talk about the demos, for goodness sake. And I'm blown away by the VR shoes and the curfew VR and the computer from Bedford called JESS, which stands for Just Examining Systemic Stereotypes. These people are making me feel seen. They're using technology for like heritage decoloniality and political female empathy, and these groups are going above and beyond what people think technology should be. Like Jay Taylor's description of small music venues to underfunded communities. The next panel helps me to get a better sense of what this conference is about, how we can share good practice of what it means to go beyond expectations. And I know that I'm surrounded by innovation, not least by all the new words that are kicking about. This crowd really likes a word blend, co-petition, fragility, artivism, glocal. My head's spinning, it's starting to bubble, and I start to think about what I need to write about beyond my notebook. It's swollen with notes, you could mistake it for a Gioconde. That's just a little reference for the bakers out there. My brain is going on tangents. I wonder what a word blend would be for me, would represent my love of maths and art. Artist? Creativitician. No, Keisha, you need to focus. Beyond. Okay, how do I respond? I'm feeling really ambivalent. I'm very inspired by all these speakers, but I'm undeniably despondent because I've stepped out of this sector now. Well, actually, you can call it a secondment. But 3 people have approached me today to say how much they love contact theatre, how much it shaped them, and it shaped me. It's a symbol of what it means to be in this city, but as Kieran said, we have to keep feeding the ecology. Andy Burnham said, diversity is in jeopardy. Jay Taylor told us that we're dancing on the edge of sustainability. These things feel like they're beyond me, but Brian bolts onto the stage all the way from Kenya and tells us about his epiphany and tells us that he created Black Rhino and how his mantra is, how do I build something that is beyond me? I cast my mind back to a chat that I had with a man called Pod with one fluorescent pink fingernail near the coffee. And we talked about the thing that I referenced in my talk, anti-fragility. It's this state of mind of being better than what is before you, the negativity, the unknown. The future is inherently scary. Things are out of our control. But we still have our agency, like Nihal joking about the end of Jules Holland and Rachel Davis saying, no, not under my watch. It's like Monkey resetting the dial for African cities in the face of Bob Geldof's misplaced charity. It's the Tower of Giraffes standing up to the light high rises of Nairobi. It's Martin from MediaCity stating that we're operating in a space that was envisioned 15 years ago, which makes me feel like we're stars. We're the glittery decay of our ancestors. We are the solidarity found between Liverpool and Ukraine in the shadow of war. We are questioning who and what creative cities are built for. We are coming together once a year to share our hopes and our fears, merge our childlike dreams with functionality like the wings of Buzz Lightyear. So I'll go back to my mission. How do I respond? By asking you to continue in your journey to infinity and beyond.